Warship Wednesday, Episode 13. The USS Chevalier was a Fletcher-class destroyer of the United States Navy. She began construction at the Bath Iron Works on the 30th of April 1941. She was launched on the 11th of April 1942 and was commissioned into the Navy on the 20th of July that same year. Between the 3rd of October and the 11th of December 1942, Chevalier made 3 convoy escort voyages, one coastwise, one escorting oil tankers, and another with a reinforcement voyage bound for North Africa. Roughly a month and a half later, on the 22nd, she had reached the New Hebrides. On the 27th, she sortied with Task Force 18 to cover the movement of troop transport into Guadalcanal. On the 30th, she joined in with protective anti-aircraft fire as her force had come under attack by the Japanese. On the 7th of May, she escorted 3 mine layers as they mined the Blackett Strait and the Gulf of Kula. The next night, on the 8th, 3 Japanese destroyers ran into the minefield and were severely damaged by the mines. And just like the Americans always do, just after that, Japanese aircraft attacked them, and all 3 were sunk. Between the 11th and 14th of May, she joined in the bombardment of Villa, I think, and then covered another mine-laying operation in the Kula Gulf. On the 28th of June 1943, Chevalier sailed from Espiritu Santo, I think that's how you pronounce it, as part of the covering force for troops bound for the Rice anchorage, to block Japanese movements from Villa to Munda. The group entered the Kula Gulf shortly before midnight on the 1st of July and began to bombard the harbours of Villa and Bairoca, while the American troop transport slipped past. During this bombardment, 3 Japanese destroyers launched torpedoes and escaped at very high speed. One hit the USS Strong, a ship I have previously covered on a Warship Wednesday episode, and for some reason that episode has become my most viewed ever video. I don't know why. Going back to the video, the Chevalier diverted from her mission and rammed into Strong's port bow in order to give the Strong's crew a chance to escape. Japanese shore batteries opened up on the USS Strong, but Chevalier stayed alongside until she had picked up all 241 survivors. Chevalier pulled out of Strong's bow at 01:22, and the destroyer sank a minute later. The ramming had caused a 2 by 10 feet hole in her bow, but it didn't really do much in the way of flooding. The destroyers returned to Espiritu Sound on the 8th of July. Between the 22nd of July and the 29th of August, she performed coverage of several landings of troops in the Solomons and such. However, I will not cover this, as this video is probably already approaching the 5-minute mark, but I will cover her loss. On the 6th of October 1943, the Chevalier, the USS O'Bannon and the USS Selfridge, all Fletcher class, intercepted 9 Japanese destroyers and destroyer transports attempting to evacuate troops from La Vela, I think, in the Solomons. Although very heavily outnumbered, the 3 American destroyers began their attack. After firing half of their torpedoes and scoring several hits with gunfire, the 3 continued to steam into the enemy line of fire to keep their own guns bearing. At approximately 22:05 at approximately 22:05, Chevalier was struck on her port bow by a Japanese torpedo, which was powerful enough to blow her entire bow off from the bridge forward, sending the ship into chaos. O'Bannon, which had been following the Chevalier close behind, could not avoid the damaged hulk and slammed into the port engine room of the destroyer. While making preparations to abandon ship, our captain, in a last act of hope and defiance, ordered her torpedoes to be aimed over the side and fired at the IJN Yagumo. The torpedo struck, and a few seconds later, the Yagumo exploded. By 23:26 p.m., it was clear that Chevalier was a total loss. And it was ordered to abandon ship. Her crew were picked up by the boats of the USS O'Bannon, and the next day she was sunk by a Japanese. No, it wasn't Japanese. God. And was sunk by a torpedo from the USS La Valette. Out of 329 men on board, 54 were lost and 36 were wounded. Yet another very defiant Fletcher class which refused to go down easily. Thank you very much for watching. I hope I am improving as these videos go on. Thank you for all of your feedback and all of your support recently. Yeah. And this is the second episode of Fletcher March.